Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my final NFL record predictions for the 2024-2025 season. This has again been heavily requested pretty much since the start of preseason, but I wanted to wait until after preseason to do it, and also at the end I'm going to be showing you guys my divisional standings as well, because that's also been a common question if I'm going to do that. Real quick before we hop into the video, don't forget to use code Wyatt's World on G Fuel or Prize Picks, where you can save yourself a discount on any G Fuel products or guarantee yourself to win a free $50 with your first $5 wager after using code Wyatt's World at sign up on Prize Picks. And just an FYI, there's a Jalen Milroe free square for this Saturday. All he needs to throw is 1 yard for the entry to win. But remember to always play responsibly, and let's get into the video. Alright guys, so here we are at the tier list for today. I don't think I could have it set up in more of a self-explanatory matter. And real quick before we hop into it, again a reminder that at the end of this I will be showing the divisional standings. So beginning with the Arizona Cardinals, they are going 5-12. Now I know that's only one more win than you guys got last year, but I think it's going to look a lot better than it sounds. This year I'm expecting them to look a lot more competitive, a lot more consistent. I think they did a good job trying to fix that run defense this offseason. They've added offensive talent, but I still just don't think this team is equipped with enough to make a serious run, especially in the division where I've mentioned time and time again, they are by far the worst team. Now moving on, we got the Falcons. I think they're only going to go 9-8. Still think they'll make the playoffs, because if they don't, I'll have to go to Atlanta with a clown wig, but I do have small concerns about them, and I know it was just preseason, but look at all the other new teams that we got to see out in preseason. The Bears went off, the Titans went off, the Broncos went off with Bo Nix. We got to see the Patriots exercise a lot of their new guys. The Falcons, they laid on the ground and got kicked in the head for 3 weeks straight. Like, to me, I almost think Raheem Morris just has this mental image in his head as to how the season's gonna play out, and he thinks it's just gonna do that by itself. Moving on, we got the Ravens, 12-5. I think they're gonna beat the hell out of a lot of teams this year. I don't think they're gonna stall at all when it comes to offense, because they've added Derrick Henry now, so he can just punch it through whenever they need him. Defense is still gonna be one of the top in the league, and I think when it comes to their division, this might be a hot take, but I don't think that division's all that close anymore. You know how it used to be the most competitive, tough division? They were all neck and neck. I think the Ravens are substantially better than the other three. Now we got the Bills, 10-7. I might have had them at 11 the last time I predicted. I'm not as confident. You know, as long as we have McDermott running the defense, I think that they will be able to hold their own. And as long as we have Josh Allen on offense, we are always going to stand a chance to win any game, but that doesn't mean I think we will win every game. We have a tough schedule, especially at the beginning. Plus, I expect to chop with the Jets and potentially Miami once. Matt Milano didn't get hurt. I might have been confident for 11, but right now it's at 10. And that'll bring us to the Panthers, where I actually think they go 6-11. They have a coach who wants to be there. They have more offensive talent than they had last year. Defense is going to be healthy. I know they're not going to have Brian Burns, but I think as a unit, much like the Cardinals, regardless as to how bad their record may be, it will be an improvement from last year, and it's going to look a lot better than the record actually shows. Now moving on, we got the Bears. This is probably dumb as hell, but I got them at 9-8. I think offensively they looked really good when we got to see them actually playing in the preseason. Last year the defense was whipped into shape towards the end. If Caleb Williams is actually this playmaker that he shines to be, there's no reason this team can't win 9 games this year, man. Their schedule is not that tough. And in terms as to how much better they look than they did last year, at least what I think, it's like comparing skim milk to 2%. Night and day difference. Now moving on, we got the Bengals. I have them going 11-6. I know the record might be close to the Ravens, but I still don't see them on the same level. I, for one, think the Bengals' run game is probably going to struggle this year, and that's mainly coming from the feedback I'm hearing from Bengal fans about their O-line. There's a lot of questions about it. Sounds like certain drives they can go out there and really lock up, and certain drives they can't stop a fucking snail if they want to. And secondly, their defense, I'm just not sure is patched up every hole to prevent them from allowing so many big plays like they did last year. They allowed like 23 more 20-yard plays in 2023 than they did in 2022. That was more than any other team. I think they're good. They'll be able to drive and score, but I don't think the team's going to be perfect, and they will struggle at times. Now we got the Browns. I think they go 8-9. Now their defense will keep them in every game, but Nick Chubb is not going to be there for at least the first 4 weeks, and I know I've mentioned this before, and I'll keep saying it until I'm proven wrong, but in my opinion, Deshaun Watson just brings that offense down. I think it's going to be very inconsistent over there when it comes to scoring points. Now we got the Cowboys, 10-7. They're going to be a good team, but I don't think they're going to be as good of a team as we saw last year. They didn't do anything to really help themselves this offseason, and I think Philadelphia is going to kick their ass twice, to be completely honest. They had an elite run game. I could still have them at 11, but they don't. A matter of fact, Delvin fucking Cook is visiting them today. Also doesn't help that Darren Bland is hurt either. Now moving on, we got the Broncos, 7-10. I think they're going to compete in nearly every single game this year, but I'm not convinced they're going to have the talent to consistently put things away, especially against the really good defenses. However, they still got who I consider the best corner in the game. They have a very promising looking quarterback, and I'll bet you they win a game or two that they absolutely should not. And that'll bring us to the Lions. Ready for my take on the year? I hate that I'm going to say this because their fans' heads are just going to get so swollen, but I actually think they're going to have the best record in the NFL. I think they go 13-4. Their team looks better than it did last year, which I think they were already elite, and looking at their schedule, there is not legitimately one team on that schedule that I think is better than them. Okay, maybe arguably San Fran, but seriously, like, I know this team will make its fair share of mistakes as always, but I think they come out with the most wins out of any NFL team this year. Now moving on, we got the Packers, 10-7 outside of Detroit. That's a very favorable division for them. I think their team improved on the defense. Offense, not entirely certain. However, I do think their offense is good. I think their offense is going to be growing confident, but at the same time, we got to understand that this team is still going to be a new team. They're going to make their mistakes. They can't be perfect, but I do expect them to make a playoff push. Now we got the Texans, 11-6. They're going to play really good this year. They have upgraded their team on nearly every single aspect that they can. However, if I got to be honest, I think their division has also upgraded their teams in majority aspects. I think that there is a chance they slip and fall a couple times there. You've also got to consider the games where they're facing teams like the Bills, the Jets, the Packers, the Chiefs, the Ravens. Like, they're not going to go perfect there either. Moving on, we have the Colts. I'm sorry, but I'm actually dropping them down to 7-10. I have concerns about Anthony Richardson, and I have concerns about their schedule. It is not going to be easy. I have confidence they'll compete. I have confidence in their coach. I have some confidence that I could even be wrong on them. But I think it's going to be a learning experience to start off the year. There's going to be some critical mistakes that will cost them games, and I just don't see the playoffs being a realistic expectation at this point. No disrespect. That'll bring us to the Jags, 9-8. If it was possible to have them going 500, I'd have them going 500. I think that there are games that they can easily win. I think there are going to be games where they're going to get their shit kicked in. Also, I don't expect their offense to be top notch for the first couple of weeks either. I don't think Trevor really has an idea as who his true number one is. We want to think it's Brian Thomas. We don't know. Things could be really slow to start there as well. Now we got the Chiefs, 12-5. Now, I think they'll win the division with flying colors, but with that being said, I think they will slip up in their division once or twice and probably lose to one of those teams. And outside of that division, they are also playing a lot of teams who I consider to be top teams. You know, Baltimore, San Francisco, Houston. Not saying Kansas City can't prove me wrong like they've already done 7 million times. But if I was a betting man, again, I would say they slip up throughout the season outside of their division a few times as well. Now moving on, we got the Raiders. I think at one point I had them potentially winning 9 games. I have them now at 6-11. I think, like my dad said, their coach can rally up the players. He can get them to play. I just don't think the players are all that good besides a few obvious key aspects like Devontae Adams and Max Crosby. Like, I know it's only preseason, but I was not impressed with their offense at all. I was not impressed with Gardner. I think it'll be a lousy year when it comes to scoring points there. Now we got the Chargers, 7-10. I'm sticking with what I said the last time I talked about them. I think Harbs is going to be a good coach. I think he is going to keep them in every game, but I genuinely don't think that team is going to have the talent to do what he wants to do. I think the running backs are going to break down and get hurt immediately. I don't think the receivers are going to be very effective. And maybe I could be wrong on every aspect of that team I just said, but again, we won't know until we see. Now we got the Rams, 10-7. They're going to be one of the scariest teams to play in the league. Now, I don't think their defense is going to be bad. Let me reiterate that. I do not think their defense is going to be bad. But if it is, this is the team to just shrug their shoulders and say, all right, fuck the defense, we'll just outscore you. And those teams, ladies and gentlemen, are the scariest teams out there. They're not going to be perfect, but they are going to be a good team, and they are going to be a fight every single week. Moving on, we got the Dolphins. They're going to go 9-8. They're going to do something very similar to what they did the last 2 years. They're going to start off like 8-2 or something, and they are going to end the season terribly. They will end 9-8. The last 6 weeks are going to be tough, and with the air being cold, I have little reason to believe that Miami's going to be able to clutch up because they never have. Also, this team flat out just has not made enough improvements for me to consider them scarier than what they were last year, and last year, they weren't good enough. You might chop with us once this year. I have no issue saying that, but I don't think you guys are going to have 10 wins. Moving on, we got the Vikings, 6-11. Look, they have talent, and they could be good offensively if their quarterback is good, and I think their defense is going to be good once again with Flores running it, but if you're asking me how I think the season's gonna play out, I don't think the quarterbacks are actually gonna be all that great, especially going against, you know, real deal teams. I see a lot of flip-flopping. I see a lot of 3-and-outs. I see the defense constantly being out there and exhausted, and I just don't see the Vikings closing out a lot of games. I see it being a rough year. Now moving on, we got the Pats, 4-13. I think it's gonna be a lousy year for them. They're gonna have a lousy offense. Not saying anything bad against Drake May. I'm just saying the talent that they have there. And honestly, I don't think their fan base really expects them to do well this year either. And I think that was kind of made obvious by the franchise when they got rid of Judon. This team is just going to play this year out and see how they perform. I don't think winning is really in their mindset. Like, obviously it is, but if they start out the season 0-3, 0-4, it's not going to be the end of their world. Now we got the Saints, 5-12. They're going to be terrible. They have a bad coach and a bad quarterback, and that's one of the worst combinations you can have out there. I know I said I wasn't in favor of Rattler starting yet, but I'm honestly there because he can at least move the team down the field. Derek Carr doesn't give his receivers opportunities to get extra yards half the time because half the balls are inside and low where the players get fucking drilled. They're gonna be bad. Now we got the Giants, 2-15. Plain and simple, they're just gonna be absolutely terrible, and everybody knows it. Now moving on, we got the Jets. They'll go 10-7. Their problem has always been their offense, and if Aaron Rodgers stays healthy, their offense is gonna be good. Their offense is gonna score a lot of points. They will be able to threaten the Bills as a whole. Like, I'm not dumb, dude. They had a top 3 defense last year. I think the year before they were top 5. All they need is a damn offense, and right now they have one, as long as he can run on the field without tearing his Achilles. That'll bring us to Philly, 11-6. I don't like their coach. I don't like their teams. I don't really like their fan base, but I will be honest, this team has made a lot of improvements, or a lot of attempts at improvements to make this team what it was just a few years ago when they were in the Super Bowl. I think they took this offseason very serious. I think this team is going to show up very determined, and as much as I hate to admit it, I think they're probably going to end up being a top team in the league once again. Not that they really ever weren't, although at the end of last year, they were kind of flat out ass. And now we got Pittsburgh, 7-10. Tomlin's going to have a negative record for the first time. For one, their offense, I think, is going to be the problem like it usually is. They still don't know who their starting quarterback is. And for two, the end of their season is probably the most brutal schedule I've ever seen. Good luck! Moving on, we got the 49ers, 12-5. It'll be the same story as always. They will dominate the regular season until they inevitably choke at some point in the postseason. Maybe it'll be the Super Bowl, maybe it'll be the divisional round. Who knows? Moving on, we got the Seahawks, 8-9. They're gonna hate to hear that because their fan base likes to think that they are going to the Super Bowl. But I think they're gonna get smacked around pretty good by the Rams and the 49ers, and their team as a whole, even though they do have some elite talent, I don't think they're that good. And as harsh as it sounds to say it, especially their quarterbacks, like, I don't hate Sam, I don't hate Geno, but I don't think they're good enough to get the Seahawks past a lot of the good teams that they're going to be facing this year. Moving on, we have Tampa. I have them at 9 wins, hopefully finishing below Atlanta so Atlanta can get in the playoffs. I think they'll be able to navigate themselves through the season pretty comfortably. There's a lot of teams that I think they will manhandle, and then there's a lot of teams that I think are going to manhandle them. Like I've said previously too, I do fear that there is going to be a time or two where Baker is absolutely suffocated this year, and without Canales, they're not going to be able to get out of it. Now moving on, we got the Titans. I have them going 8-9. This might sound delusional, but like I said, I really like the team they put together this offseason. I think they look great in the preseason. I think they have a chance to really be deadly. However, at the same time, looking at their schedule, there's a number of games I think they're gonna win. There's a good number of games I think they can win, and then there's a really good number of games where I think they're gonna get their fucking heads kicked in. And ending, we have Washington, 5-12. I'm sorry, I'm still sleeping. I'm snoozing. I'm fucking hibernating on you guys. I think Jaden Daniels is gonna be good. I think he's gonna be an elite fantasy quarterback, but I don't think he's gonna play perfect every game. He's gonna make his fair share of mistakes, and I think their coach is no better than the coach they had last year. Anyway, guys, that'll be it for my final record predictions for the upcoming NFL season. If you're interested in my divisional standings, well, here they are. Pretty sure I have everything matched up to where it's supposed to be. Screenshot this if you want to save it for future references. But in the meantime, I'm going to hop off and get this edited so you guys can watch it on time. Have a great rest of your night, and I will see you in the next upload.